Good morning, boys and girls. Today we're going to be learning about the branches of government. Let's start by watching a video on this topic, and then be sure to put on your listening ears because there's going to be a quick trivia at the end of the video. So let's take a look at the video. Let me go through the ads real quick.
Welcome to Kids Academy.
And now I'm gonna do this.
Hi, boys and girls. Do you know how laws are made? There are 3 branches of government in the United States. Each branch has a special responsibility in the lawmaking process. The legislative branch makes the laws. The United States Congress runs the legislative branch. Congress members introduce bills which are ideas for new laws. A bill cannot become a law until it is approved by the executive branch. The President of the United States is the leader of the executive branch. The President can approve or veto a bill. When a bill is vetoed, it is rejected. When the President signs a bill, it becomes a law. The executive branch also enforces laws to make sure that people follow them. The judicial branch is made up of courts and judges. The U.S. Supreme Court is the highest court in the judicial branch. Members of the judicial branch review laws to make sure they are fair. It's trivia time.
Okay, my friends, now that we've reached to the part of the trivia time, for this, there's going to be a question and it's going to have 3 answers to it. So if you think it's A, put your 1 finger up. If you think it's B, put 2 fingers up. And then if you think it's 3, put 3 fingers up. If you think it's C, put 3 fingers up. And then after each time, I would go over the answers. So let's take a look at the first one.
Let's see what you know about the 3 branches of government. Question 1. Which branch of the United States government is responsible for making laws? A, the judicial branch. B, the legislative branch. C, the executive branch. If you need to think about it, pause the video. Go back and peek.
Okay, we're gonna pause the video. I should see fingers up. Okay, I see a 2. I see a 1. Okay, I see more 2s. Okay, let's look at the answer.
Lesson again if you need more help. The answer is B. The legislative branch makes the laws. Great job. Question 2. Who is the leader of the executive branch? A, the President. B, the Supreme Court. C, Congress. Correct. The answer is A. The President of the United States is the leader of the executive branch.
Good job, everyone that had a 1.
The executive branch enforces laws to make sure that people follow them. Let's try one more. Question 3. Who reviews laws in the judicial branch? A, Congress members. B, American citizens. C, court judges.
Let's give a few minutes. Okay, I see 3s. I see 1s. Okay, let's take a look.
Yes. The answer is C. The judicial branch reviews laws to make sure they are fair. Great job.
Okay, good job, everyone. Those were only 3 quick questions to make sure that we were paying attention in our video. to our video. So now it's okay if you didn't get them all right, because that is what our lesson is going to be about. So we're going to look into those questions more and in more detail with our reading. So before we begin our reading, I need to go over with you our vocabulary sheet for this lesson. So this just assures me that you're going to write down all the academic language vocabulary that we are going to learn in this lesson. And this can help you as a note-taking sheet, because if you forget a word or what something means, you can always look back to this and just to refresh your memory. So let's read over some of the words here. So I'm passing this out. First thing I want you to do is to write your name at the top and write the date like we always do. We have around 15 words. So for each section, we're gonna go over some words, and then you would write the definition. So right here, you just see the words, and then there should be a space in which you can write the definition. So let me model, for example, the first word or term that we have here is branches of government. So does anyone know what this means? How would we define it? Okay, Daniel, yeah. So there's 3 separate arms. So we can say the branches of government. So we're going to write refers to. So this is written right next to the word. Refers to the separate arms of the U.S. government, each of which having their own power. So each which have their own power, correct? And then we can say the branches that it includes. So does anyone know how many we have from the video that we just watched? Yes, Samantha, good job, 3. So we have the executive, right? The executive, legislative, and judicial branch. Good job, my friends. So we should have our definition in our worksheet, and then the word in our worksheet, and then the definition that follows along the word. So I'm going to leave this up in the whiteboard throughout our lesson so that you can copy them down. And if I erase and you don't have a certain word, then during our independent time, we can talk to a friend, and maybe they have the definition for us. So now that I modeled the first word, throughout the shared reading, I want you all to do the same for each word that we go through. So here I'm going to erase this for now. It's okay if you don't have it. You can look over with a friend during your independent time, but make sure to have all the words filled out by the end of the day, because you will be checking it, turning it in for completion. So that is part of your vocabulary completion for the day for this lesson. So now let's take a look. So yeah, these are going to help us throughout the lesson, and I should have a whole worksheet filled out by the end of the day. So let's take a look into our shared reading. We're going to participate in a shared reading, boys and girls. Does anyone remember how we participate in one? If not, it's okay. So a shared reading is remembered when we follow along silently while the teacher reads aloud. So we're proactively listening to the teacher and following along silently. And then at the end, for each reading, I'm going to stop at a certain page. We will review academic language So vocab for that page, in which we were gonna have to write in our worksheet. We're gonna go over comprehension questions to make sure that we understand the section that we just read, and then summarize a section so that we don't forget what we read, like I've mentioned. So let's take a look at part 1, page 176. Give me a few minutes. I am going to pull this out. So, page 176. Does everyone have it? Okay, so let's begin reading aloud. So, government for Illinois. The United States is made up of 50 states. Because they are in different places, they have different industries. They have different people with different ideas. Each state has different problems. Each state has its own state government. In the West, for example, Arizona and Utah make laws about how water can be used. Water is very important there because they are desert states. California's government inspects crops for insects that might have been brought in with loads of fruits or vegetables. Wisconsin makes laws about fishing in its many lakes and rivers and logging in its forests. Louisiana has laws about its docks, where ships load and unload their cargoes. West Virginia makes laws about safety in its coal mines. Illinois makes laws about its farms, so that would be our state. We have laws about our farms. All states decide how fast drivers can go on highways, so when we're driving, we have certain speed limits. It all differs on the state you're in. They all decide how they will run their schools, so everyone, like the Illinois schools, they may differ from California schools. It all is all based on your state and the laws. So what do you think? Representatives from Illinois and all of the 50 states go to Washington to make laws for the home country. What problems might there be with so many people from so many places trying to make laws for everyone? Let's keep that in our head. Just think about it. So let's look at the second paragraph. Our state constitution. Illinois has a constitution that tells how our state government works. Our first constitution was written in 1818, when Illinois became a state. Remember those dates, my friends. As Illinois grew and changed, new constitutions were written. Over the years, there has been 4 different constitutions for our state government. The last one was written and voted on by the people of Illinois in 1970. So let's take a look at this graph right here. General Assembly, legislature. So Illinois has 59 senators, which is right here. And then the House of Representatives, Illinois has 118 representatives. And then on the side, let's read over capital cities. Government representatives meet and make laws in the capital cities. The capital of the United States is Washington, D.C., so that's our capital. And then the capital of our state, Illinois, is Springfield. So people who live in Illinois have to follow the rules, so the laws, of both the United States and the Illinois government. Okay, my friends, so now we're going to stop. Since we read page 176, we're going to go over some academic language, some comprehension questions, and the summary of the section so that we don't get lost reading the whole thing. So let's see. Our first word is going to be, who can tell me what's next on our vocab worksheet? Good job, Danny. State. The definition of state. We can always look back at our text, correct? So state. So we're gonna write state. State, a territory right, with its own government, borders within a large country. So who knows how many states is in the country of the United States? Yes, Daniel? Good job. 50. So we have 50. I'm not gonna write that, but if you want to, you can write more, like facts about it. You could say, for example, Illinois is a state. That can help you. Just remember, this is just a definition, but you can always write notes about each word. So if I were you, I would maybe say an example of a state is Illinois. And if that helps you, remember. So now let's take a look at our second word. Yes, Samantha, is government. Government. Correct. So the government is the making of laws and important decisions that control or affect all the people living in a community, state, or country. So that would be our second word, correct? So now let's take a look at our third word. So we also crossed the word laws, like right here. So let's define laws for our third word. What's a law? Who can tell me what's a law? Eric? Yeah, it's like a rule that we have to obey. So let's write any rule, one rule that the government makes and that people in a society must obey. For example, everyone has rules, right? Like we've said, Illinois has laws about the farms, and in our reading. So if we want to put an example, Illinois has laws about farms. And then later on, you can do your research on those laws if you want. So for our fourth word, representatives. So who are the representatives? Let's write representatives. Representatives. Right here. And a representative is a person who speaks or acts for a group or community. So they're like the leader, correct? Like they are the ones who, the spokesperson. And then for our last word for this section is, what's next on our word sheet, Samantha? Good job. So, Constitution. So we're gonna write Constitution. Constitution. And then, what is a constitution, Danny? Yes, so it's the written record of such a system. So let's take a look at our whole 5 words for this section we have here. So now that we have that, I hope you all have time. I'm gonna leave this up for a minute and then I'm gonna start erasing for our next section. But this is our words for the worksheet. And now let's take a look at the comprehension questions, correct? So these comprehension questions are questions that I know that I'm gonna ask you, and I hope that you listen throughout the reading so that we have those answers to our questions. So let's take a look. If I say number 1, like for number 1 question is, what do government representatives do in the capital city? So Eric, let's look. Remember, the representatives are what? Let's take a look at our sheet. Yes, the person who speaks or acts upon a community or group. So what do they do in the capital city? What do the government representatives do? Good job, Eric. They meet and make laws in the capital city. Yes, good job. So now let's take a look at this other question. What's the importance of laws, Danny? Okay, good job. So by having laws, they protect our general safety and keep each state on the same page for everyone in the state. So for example, like the reading mentioned, each state has its speed limit for the highway, and it can differ in other states. Or every state has different driving laws and all that can differ from different states. Okay, good job. So importance of laws, they keep us in track and protects our safety. So number 3, when was the Illinois' first constitution written, and when did Illinois become a state, Samantha? Good job, in 1818. So make sure we are looking at our reading and highlighting those answers. Good job. So, and last question, how many constitutions has Illinois had? Yes, Eric, good job. 4 different constitutions. So to summarize this section, each state has its own state government. With this being said, the laws for each state may differ. One state can have a specific law and another state might have a different one. And the government representatives are the ones that meet and make the laws in the capital city. The Illinois Constitution tells us how our state government works. And throughout the years, as Illinois grew and changed, so did the constitutions. Good job. So let's take a look at our academic language. So now that we have those written down, let's take a look at page 177. Should be the next page, correct? Yes. So the title is Branches of Government. One way the writers of the Constitution of the United States prevented a president from taking too much power was to divide the government into 3 parts or branches. Our state government is also divided into 3 branches. Each branch has certain duties. This way, the power is spread out. So, legislative branch. This legislative branch makes the laws. Make sure you're paying attention, everyone. The General Assembly meets each year to decide which bills become new laws. In Illinois, the General Assembly is made of the Senate and the House of Representatives. How a bill becomes a law. Let's take a look at that section. A bill is a written idea for a new law. Someone writes the bill and takes it to either the Senate or the House, and then after legislators debate about the good and bad points of a bill, and then a vote is taken. If a majority votes yes on a bill, it goes to the other group. And if a majority of that group also votes no on the bill, then it goes no further. It does not become a law. If the governor believes the bill will make a good law, he or she signs it and it becomes a new law for Illinois. If the governor does not believe the bill will make a good law, it is sent back to where it started. This is called a veto. So, people, after a veto, the legislators can vote again if they wish. If 3 and 5 senators and representatives vote for the bill, it can become a law without going to the governor again. This is one way the power of making law is shared, making sure the law is shared by both branches of government, and it is an important part of our Constitution. So, if we take a look at our chart in that page, it makes us understand where the bill is taken and how it becomes a law. So just follow the arrows that is right there. Good job. So now let's take a look at some of our academic language for that section, correct? So we have the legislative branch. What does the legislative branch do? Yes, Danny? Good job. The legislative branch is the division of a government that makes the laws. So legislative is the one that makes the laws, correct? The one that makes the laws. Good job. So now, what is the General Assembly, Eric? General Assembly. Yes, the legislative branch of the state government. So, is the legislative branch of the state government. And now, what's our next word? Bill. What's a bill, Samantha? What's a bill? Yeah, so it's the written idea for a new law. It's like a rough draft before it becomes a law. A written idea for a new law. Good job. So now a veto. What's a veto? The power of the government. Power of a government. Official or group to keep something from taking place, from taking effect, So for example, if the governor doesn't approve of the law, they don't sign it, and that's where it becomes a veto because it has to be taken back since it did not pass the governor. Lastly, the senator. What's a senator? Yes, Danny? Yes, a member of the Senate. A member of the Senate. Good job. So these are our words for this section. We have 5 words. And I'm going to leave those up there so that you can write those in your vocab sheet. So let's take a look at some questions that I have on this board. So the first one is, what helped prevent the president from taking too much, what helps it from taking too much power? Good job, Danny. So dividing the government into 3 parts or branches. Good job. So Samantha, let's see our next comprehension question. What does the legislative branch do? Good job. Good job. So Samantha said she looked at her vocab sheet and she was able to answer that. So they make the laws. Good job. The legislative branch makes the laws. Number 3, Eric. What is the General Assembly made up of? From our reading, it's made up of the Senate and the House of Representatives. And then lastly, number 4, what is a vote? When is a vote for a bill taken, Danny? Yes, after legislators debate about the good and bad points of the bill. So, once they see the written idea, which is the bill of the law, they either vote yes or no, whether they like it or not, or like, do they agree with it or disagree? And after that, they make the vote whether it passes or it doesn't pass. So, for this section, our summary would be, our state government is divided into 3 branches, and each branch has its certain duties. So, this allows the power to be spread out and not just be held by one. One of the branches, as we read in this section, is the legislative branch, which makes the laws. And then a bill becomes a law when it passes through groups till it reaches the governor, correct? Like our graph showed us. The governor has the last say, and if they decide to sign it, then it becomes the new law for the state. Even if it reaches the senator and he decides to not sign, it's a veto. So, if the governor does not decide to sign it, it becomes a veto. Good job, my friends. So now we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep reading our sections. I'm going to stop. We have about 2 more sections to go, and then we're gonna go through each academic, and our vocab sheet should be finished by then. So, boys and girls, now that we've learned a lot about the branches of governments through our video and reading, let's do some writing. So let's take a look at the first page of our folio that I'm passing out. Here you go. So at first I want you to take a look at each page. I want you to write your name and the date, and it should have the picture in front. Now see, let's take a look at the first page of this, which is the executive branch. I'm going to model with you the first 2 questions of each section so that you have an idea on what's expected. So let's take a look at the first question. It says here, what does the executive branch do? Yes, Danny? Okay, good job. So we're going to write incomplete sentences, correct? Like we know. The executive branch carries out the laws. And then put our period at the end. And let's take a look at the second question. Samantha, who is the head of the executive branch? Good job, the governor. So we can write, the governor is the head of the executive branch. Okay, good job. So, and then after that, you're going to continue to look over those. You can always look back at your reading or turn it to ask to a friend. Now let's take a look at the second page, which is called the legislative branch. So, let's take a look at the first 2 questions, statements. Eric, the legislative branch makes what? Good job. So the legislative branch makes the law. So you would fill in the blank for this one. And then Danny, fill in the blank. The General Assembly is made up of the blank and the blank. Good job. The Senate and the House of Representatives. Good job. So we're going to fill in those. And then after that, you will finish filling out that section. Lastly, let's take a look at our last page, which is our last branch, the judicial branch. We're only going to go through one because there's not a lot. So, Danny, the blank make up the judicial branch of Illinois state government. What makes up the judicial branch of Illinois state government? Good job. The courts. So, and then here you're going to, it says levels of government, and You're gonna fill those out with our current heads of executive branches. So with our current timeline. Now that I have modeled the first two questions for each branch and paper of our folio, page of our folio, I hope you all know what is expected. Don't forget to fill out the chart on the third page, and then now it's time to work independently and to look over your reading to answer these questions. You can always. So now, if you do need help, the first thing I want you to do is reread first, and after that, if you still need help, then I want you to turn and talk to a partner. And then lastly, if you need help after doing those first two things, raise your hand and I will come over to help you out. Throughout the independent practice, I will be walking around, so answering any questions. And once you are done with your folio, I want you to staple it and then put it in your turn-in bin at the front of the classroom. Don't forget to write your name on it so that I know whose is whose. Okay, good job. Okay, today's boys and girls, we did a shared read aloud in which we learned about the branches of government, correct? After each section, we stopped and went over our vocab for each section, our academic language, comprehension questions, and the summary of each section. The academic language we learned today were the branches of government, state government, laws, representatives, constitution, legislative branch, general assembly, bill, veto, senator, executive branch, militia, court, judicial branch, local governments, mayor, the governor, and the population. So those are all the words we went over. So let's take a look at four important words from these. They're all important, but let's take a look at the main focus of our lesson. So who can review with me what is the term branches of government? Yes, it refers to separate arms of the U.S. government, each of which having its own powers. So for example, the executive, legislative, and judicial. Good job. So now let's take a look. What is the legislative branch again? Good job. Those are the ones that make the laws. And then who can tell me what the executive branch is? Yes, the executive branch is the one that carries out the laws. And now let's take a look at judicial branch. The judicial branch interprets the laws. Good job. So these are all very important words, but the main focus was the branches of government and how each branch of the government has its own powers and how they use their powers to help us, the community, to make us a community. So each state has its own state government. With this being said, the laws for each state may differ. One state can be a specific law and another state might not have no idea about that law. So for example, each state differs from laws, and the government representatives are the ones that meet and make the laws in the capital city. The Illinois Constitution tells us how our state government works. In addition, through the reading, we learned about the 3 different types of branches, like I've mentioned, that the government holds, and they all have different duties. So again, the executive, judicial, and legislative branch. And those make up, overall, this allows the power to be held separately in each, and they don't allow just one to hold all the power. Thank you all for being great students. Don't forget to turn in both your folio and your completed vocabulary worksheet at the end here before you leave the classroom. I hope you all learned something today, and see you next class. Bye.